Hearthstone's new expansion, Fractured and Alterac Valley, is right around the corner, so if you're wondering what to play on day one, I got you covered. In this video, we're going to be going over 20 brand new decks, 2 for each class, that I theory crafted for you guys ready to go for day one of the new expansion. Welcome guys, I'm Funky Monkey, your go-to off-meta deck builder. And if you're unaware, I was one of the streamers that got early access to the new cards and decks as well. So that, along with me being a longtime deck builder, I have refined all of these decks so they should be completely ready to use on day one. Now, I did try to include as many new cards and archetypes as I could while still keeping them competitively viable. So without further ado, let's hop into the decks. But before we do, if you love off-meta decks, I have vowed never to net deck. So every single deck that you see on this channel is 100% created by me. So if you want to see the most unique, creative, fun off-meta decks for the new expansion, then consider subscribing. It's free and you can always change your mind later. Now let's get into it. So starting with our first class is going to be Demon Hunter, and our first deck, we're going to be kicking it off big with this big Demon Hunter list. So the card that makes this deck work so much better is the new Sigil of Reckoning. Having yet another way of cheating out our big demons just makes this deck super consistent. And to make sure that we're not too far behind by the time that we play our Sigil, we are running a couple of other new cards here. We're running the Warden of Chains, which is a 4 mana 3/8, which is absolutely insane. And we're also running the Flanking Maneuver. This card looks really good. Like, you can kill 2 minions with this, or you can kill a giant. And another way to cheat out some big demons, we're using another new card here, the Caria Fellsoul. Like, imagine getting a 6 mana Pit Commander from your deck, or like a 6 mana Ancient Void Hound. And then the last new card that we're running in here is going to be the new hero, Kartrus. Honestly, this hero is just so good. You'll probably run him in like every single Demon Hunter deck except for OTK. And the second new Demon Hunter deck that I have for you guys, I actually had the luxury of playing on stream early, and that's going to be a Token Demon Hunter. This deck actually surprised me with how good it is. And there's a lot of new cards in this one too. So we have the Battle Warden Vanguard, which is insane. If you can stick it early and just keep attacking, it can snowball fast, especially if you can follow it up with like Sigil Summoning to protect it, or like your Flag Runner, because 6 health is a lot of health to kill on the Flag Runner, so oftentimes it'll stick for a turn or two. And then as we're going wide, we have the new Field of Strife, which is super busted in my opinion. Over 3 turns, you can squeeze a lot of extra damage with their tokens. Like with a Coordinated Strike, you get 3 extra damage on that. With an Expendable Performers, you get 14 extra damage. And then we even have the new Ram Commander 2 for even more rushers. And as all of our tokens keep dying, we can get some really cheap Urzel Giants. I was able to play a giant by turn 5. And then of course, we are running the Kartrus hero again. And especially in this deck, his hero power is insane. You can get like 10 damage hero powers. Headed into our second class is going to be Druid. And this first deck is going to be a Beast Druid. So we have the new Frostwolf Kennels, which summons a 2/2 stealth at the end of every turn. And we also have another new stealth beast, and that's going to be the Dire Frostwolf. And these are really good because you can go ahead and like curve them into a Menagerie Warden, so you can make another copy of a Frostwolf. Or because they have stealth, you'll have a lot of these beasts on the board, so you can just curve into like an Arbor Up. Or also the new Heart of the Wild. This is really good. So on just 1 minion, it's +3/+3. And if you have other minions on the board, it's just so much stats. And as all of these beast tokens die, it keeps discounting the Frostsaber Matriarch. So one cool combo that we can do is we can play like a 0-cost Frostsaber Matriarch and follow that up with a Menagerie Warden. And for just 5 mana, that's 13-15 worth of stats with Taunt. And if we happen to fall behind on the board, we do have the Wing Commander Mulveric as well. The next Druid deck is going to be a little bit of a meme. And this is going to be an Ivus OTK. So the Wombo combo here is we want to use the new Wildheart Guff, so we can just keep ramping like crazy all the way up to 20 mana. And once we're at 20 mana, we play the Soulbond Ashtongue and Silas to give it to our opponent. Then we play Omu with any spell to refresh our mana crystals. And then for 20 mana, we play our Ivus, so it becomes a 33/33 Taunt Divine Shield Rush. And then we rush that into the Ashtongue for 33 damage. Just to help us survive until that 20 mana, we are running like a Guardian Animals package. And then another new card that we're running to help pull off this combo is the Capture Coldtooth Mine, because we can use this to draw the lowest cost card in our deck, which is either like the Ivus or the Ashtongue, or we can do it to draw the highest cost card, which is like our Guardian Animals. So our third class is going to be Hunter, and this one is going to be another big deck. It's going to be Big Beast Hunter, because we have a brand new big beast, which is the Mountain Bear, and we have another way of cheating it out now, which is the Battle Ram. So like the dream combo is we play Battle Ram on 4 and then Mountain Bear on 5, and if the Mountain Bear dies on turn 6, we can play like 2 Revive Pets or a Revive Pet plus Shandow. We can get them all back again with like Jewel of N'Zoth. And if we're left over with some beasts in our hand, we can summon them for free with the Leorox. Or if we have some beasts left in our deck, we can summon those for free with the Wing Commander Ikman. And to help us last a little bit longer, we are running the new Beast Stalker Tavish hero card as well. And the second Hunter deck is no secret. Well, it's Secret Hunter. So this is going to be a little bit more on the aggressive side on the Secret Hunter deck. We got some good one drops curving into like a secret on turn 2. So that way we can take advantage of like the Crossroads Gossiper or Petting Zoo or the new Ram Tamer on curve on turn 3. And then if we have any secrets left in our deck, we can go ahead and use the Spring the Trap if we get the honorable kill as well. And one little spicy thing that I did to this deck is I used a Lorekeeper Polkelt because it guarantees drawing our Tavish next. And then we curve straight into Barak Kodabane for some more gas. And then it goes straight into more damage with like the Rinling's Rifle or Piercing Shot. So for the next class, we're going to be heading into Mage. Now for the Mage class, we didn't get too many other cards other than the ones that support Big Spell Mage. So for this class, I'm going to give you 2 different Big Spell Mage decks that go a couple different routes that you guys can choose from. This first one is going to be a little bit more on the traditional side, a little bit more probably what you're expecting. Uses a lot of big spells here, including like the new Mass Polymorph as our 7-cost spell. We're using Deep Freeze for the 8-cost spell. We're running Rune of the Archmage as our 9-cost and the Iceblood Tower as our 10-cost. And then we can draw them all with the Arcane Brilliance. And to help cheat out our big spells, we are using the Celestial Ink set, and then we can go ahead and discover some early spells as well through like the Pandaren Importer or the Venomous Scorpid. And then we can cheat out our big spells even sooner with like the Clumsy Courier and also the new Belinda Stonehearth. And then we get to replay all of these spells again through like Grey Sage Parrot or the new Magister Dawngrasp hero card. And then the second version of Mage, we're basically going all in on the Rune of the Archmage. So in this one, we're running as few of spells as possible. So that way, Deepwater Evoker is guaranteed to get us like an Iceblood Tower, which will then pull a Rune of the Archmage, or like a Clumsy Courier, which casts the Iceblood Tower, which then casts the Rune. And the Rune is almost guaranteed to get discounted if we use the Celestial Ink set if it's the only spell in hand as well. And then of course we get to replay it with the Grey Sage Parrot. So with this version, the idea is that you want to be playing like 2, 3, maybe even 4 copies of Rune of the Archmage throughout the game. Now going into the next class, we have Paladin, and this one's going to be a big Paladin deck. I'm starting to sense a theme here. I guess I like big decks. I did also play this one live for the Theorycraft event as well, and this one worked out really well. It's basically all thanks to the new Cavalry Horns. We can cheat out our big guys even faster, so that way we don't have to wait for commencement. We are going to be running the Vander Stormpike to discount all of our big guys too, so we can cheat them out even faster. If he's still in your deck by the time you want to play commencement, there is a small chance that you do pull the Vander from commencement, but the odds are pretty slim. But a couple new big guys that we got too, which makes this even more rewarding to play, is the Brasswing, which we get like a free consecration at the end of every turn, and we can pair its consecration with like an equality to clear our opponent's whole board. And we also got the Loch Halar as well too. We are even running the new hero Cariel as well, because she's just so good. Any kind of slower Paladin deck will definitely want to run her. And the second Paladin deck is going to be this Drekthar Quest Paladin. This one has so much synergy with the new Dun Baldar Bridge. Once we play that bridge on turn 4, we can just dump our handful of a bunch of 1-drops and get them all buffed with the bridge. Or we can play like the bridge on turn 4 and follow that up with a Drekthar. So that way, not only does Drekthar get buffed, but the 2 minions that he summons also get buffed as well. We're also running the new Ram Commanders too, because they give 2 1/1s to your hand, so you can use those for your quest. And then we also have the new legendary Sidon the Scarlet. If you play him after the bridge, he gets +4/+4, so all of a sudden he's a 3-mana 6/6 rusher. If you buff him up just once with like an Alliance Bannerman, he's a 3-mana 4/4 rusher. So this guy can just snowball really quickly, and it doesn't take much for him to be really busted. The first priest deck that I have for you guys is going to be this Death Rattle Xyrella Priest. So the Death Rattles that we're going to be running, we're going to be using the new Spirit Guide, which draws a Holy and a Shadow spell. We have the Light Shower Elemental, which heals us. We have the Morg Forge Fiend, which gives us armor. And then we also have the new Undying Disciple as well too, which does 3 damage AoE when it dies. So when we replay Xyrella, we basically get a Reno Jackson to heal up to full health. We get a board clear, and we get to fill up our entire hand. Like, talk about a swing turn. Oh yeah, and we get a really nice juicy hero power too. So we actually have some finishing power with this deck too, to do on average 2.5 damage to our opponent's face every turn to close out the games. And then we're also running another new card here, Deliverance, which is actually a really good early game removal tool. And the second priest deck, Inner Fire Priest, is back. Well, kind of. In the form of Bless. So we're running it in a more like tempo-oriented deck here. We want to go ahead and stick a really early 1-drop, like the new Iron Deep Trog, and follow that up with some buff spells, like the Kulturan Chaplain to buff its health, or like a Power Word Feast. And then from there, we just try to snowball and keep buffing up our minions. So we have the Gift of the Naru, which heals all of our minions, and that further buffs our Crimson Clergy's attack. Luminous Geode gives more attack, and it also heals up our injured Blade Master almost to full health too. And to make sure that we always have a board, we are going to be using that Drekthar, so we can summon 3 minions minions, and we also have the rally to resummon a bunch of minions too. So when one of our minions gets enough health, we can go ahead and play that bless and make just one really huge minion. Next up, we have Rogue, and this first one is a spicy one. It's Burgle Rogue. I am happy to say that Maestra is finally playable, because with Maestra, as you turn into another class at the start of the game, it helps activate your double agents on turn 3, and it also helps discount your Wild Paw Gnolls. We have some cool new Burgle tools. We have the Reconnaissance, which is actually a lot better than I thought, because on average, class death rattles are really good. We have the new Lobotomizer, so if we get an honorable kill, we get to copy whatever's on the top of our opponent's deck, and not only do we get that value, but we also get that information of knowing what they're going to draw. We also have a fun new legendary, the Karathine Fleet Runner, which is basically like a deck of lunacy, but for your minions. And all the minions that we play are from different classes, so a late game bomb is like the Contraband Stash. Like, I played against this deck during the Theorycraft stream, and my opponent ended up getting like 4 Greybows and a Reliquary Prime with this Contraband Stash. Talk about value. Because it's going to be a little bit more of like a value-oriented deck, we're going to be a little bit slower, so we are running the Shadowcrafter Scabs. So the next rogue deck that we have is going to be a Death Rattle Rogue. This one's all built around the new Korak the Blood Rager, because we can activate it pretty easily in Rogue through like the sketchy information. If we draw it, it does summon a Korak, or even 2 if we have the new Snowfall Graveyard active. And on top of that, we can summon more Koraks if we use the Counterfeit Blade, and we can even get more Koraks if we play the new Forsaken Lieutenant on turn 2, and then go ahead and play Korak like on a coin 3 or turn 4. So sometimes we will draw Korak before all this other stuff. So I do have an Infiltrator Lillian and a couple of the Ticketmasters in the deck too, just so we can always get some value through like the sketchy informations. And we are also running the new Double Agent in here as well, just because I think it's so easy to activate in Rogue. Like, we have the Wand Thieves, we have the Reconnaissance, and we also have the Vanessa to get other stuff from other classes. Going into Shaman now, we have this Yasharaj Freeze Shaman OTK deck. So the Wombo combo with this deck is you want to go ahead and cast a Dunk Tank and a Circus Medic throughout the game, and then when you have 10 mana, you want to play Bolner Hammerbeak, Lightning Bloom, and then Yasharaj the Defiler, which gives you more Dunk Tanks and more Circus Medics. And those Circus Medics also proc Yasharaj's Battlecry again, so you can go infinite. So thanks to all the frost spells that we got in Shaman, like the Wind Chill card and the Sleep Breaker that gives more Wind Chills, we can draw like crazy, so it's a little bit easier to set up for the OTKs, and we can stall a little bit more as well because we're freezing stuff. And by getting a frost spell, it means that we have 4 different spell schools that we can cast in Shaman now, so we can just get a boatload of card draw with the multicasters. We're going to be using the new Snowball Fight because it's kind of like a bouncing blade, but whatever lives is frozen, and the Snowblind Harpy, which gives us 5 armor if we have a frost spell, which is pretty easy in this deck, as well as a Snowfall Guardian to help us stall even more. And the cool thing about Snowfall Guardian, it's basically like a Frost Nova on a body, and we can even replay it more with the Brilliant Macaws. So basically we can cast 4 Frost Novas in this deck. And to top it all off, we are running the Brukhana of the Elements hero, and then the Baron Glacier, because summoning a whole board full of elementals is just too good not to run. And the next Shaman deck is kind of a new rendition of an older archetype that's going to be like a freeze elemental deck. So it has a lot of the good elementals that you've expected, but it also has a lot of the freeze synergy in here too, like the Wind Chills and the Sleep Breaker since it's an elemental. And then we're also using the Frostbite card. This is insane. Not only is it 2 mana deal 3, it can also go face, and if you get that honorable kill, it basically forces your opponent to skip their entire next turn to cast whatever spell they want to, and ultimately provides a lot of tempo. And speaking of tempo, we are using the new Wild Paw Cavern because you get a 3/4 elemental every single turn that you use this. And then of course, as always, we're going to be topping it off with the Baron Glacier and the Brukhana. And the cool thing about the Baron Glacier, if we summon a whole board full of these elementals, we can follow it up with a Cheaty Snowbolt, and every single time one of these elementals attacks an opponent's face and freezes them, it does an extra 3 damage. So every elemental that you have on the board basically does 6 damage, and you can kind of set up some OTKs. Going into our second to last class is going to be Warlock, and this first deck up is going to be this Egg Phylactery deck. This one is super cool. I got to play this one as well for the theory crafting stream. So some cool wombo combos you can do now is you can play like an egg on turn 2 and follow that up with a Desecrated Graveyard on turn 3. Not only does it pop your egg and summon a 4/4, but for the next 2 turns, you get a free 4/4 after that too. So over 3 turns, that's gonna be 12/12 worth of stats for just 3 mana. But the main combo to this deck is to use the Tamsin's Phylactery with the Korak the Blood Rager Death Rattle. So once Korak dies, we just want to go as wide as possible and then play Tamsin's Phylactery so we can discover the Korak and give his Death Rattle to all of our minions. So we just get a whole board full of Koraks and just make it impossible to deal with. And the second Warlock deck that I have for you guys is a very spicy one. This is going to be an Owl OTK. This is all built around the Humongous Owl, and how the combo works is we want the owls to die, and then once it dies, we want to go ahead and fill up our board as much as we can using like the Wicked Shipments, and then play Tamsin's Phylactery to give our board full of 1/1 imps the Humongous Owl Death Rattle. And we can even do that twice if we have a Tamsin as well. And then we follow that up with a School Spirits to kill off our whole board to deal up to 56 or 112 damage to our opponent. And we are using the new Tamsin Hero as well because it just does so much for one card. You know, drawing through our deck, summoning a board full of 3/3s to help fight for the board, and dealing 3 damage AoE to help us survive for our combo. And another cool control card that we're running is going to be the Full Blown Evil. For one card, it's a full board clear no matter if you're in the early game, the mid game, or the late game. And up for our last class, we have Warrior. And this first deck is going to be like this Rush Taunt Warrior deck. So we're running the new Ram Commander to give us a couple more rushers to our hand. And we're also running the new Scrapsmith to give us a couple more taunts to our hand as well. And then on a big swing turn, like after reconditioning, we can just dump a ton of minions using To the Front. If we ever do run out of steam, we are running the new Rokara Hero as well. And the last deck that I have for you guys in the last Warrior deck is going to be this Galvanger OTK. And how we use them for the OTK is we're going to play a couple To the Fronts, so it makes our Captain Galvanger cost 2 mana, and then we Faceless Manipulator it for 1 mana, and then for 2 mana we can slap down a Battleground Battlemaster, and that's 36 damage charge. We don't always need the full OTK as well because we do have the Rokara Hero to kind of chip down our opponent. And one new card that we got that helps us survive for so long is going to be the Shield Shatter card, especially in conjunction with the Frozen Buckler. It turns this into a 0 mana deal 5 AoE. And that's going to wrap up all 20 Theorycraft decks that I have made for you guys ready to go on day 1 of the new expansion. Let me know down below in the comment section which one of these decks are you looking forward to playing the most. And if you found these decks helpful, then please leave a like down below as well. That does help me out a ton with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in Alterac Valley. Stay funky.